Well, hey, everybody. So I'm Bob. It's good to see you. I actually pulled in at 2 in the morning this morning. It was crazy. I stayed at this hotel. I usually spend most evenings with Sweet Maria. I mean, I spent all this time trying to get her to like me. I want to spend time with her. And so this happened one other time. It was in Oklahoma, and I got there at like 2 in the morning. They gave me the key to the room, and I went up. I opened the door, threw all my stuff on the bed, and I turned on the light. You guys, there was a woman in the room. And she started screaming. She's like, "This is my room!" And look at the key. I'm like, "This is my room!" And I grabbed my bag and I ran. I felt like Joseph. But I love that we're together here. Whether you're watching online or you're one of the many campuses, I just hope that we could just give Jesus the whole room. Can we just say, like, this is his room for the next little bit and leave all the distractions behind? I don't think Satan wants to destroy us. I think he wants to distract us. And so what he does is he has our mind here so we're in proximity to each other, but we're not actually present. And I love through the singing, that just helps me get in the room. Are you that way? Literally. You know, of all the words they could call you in Scripture, they called you the bride of Christ. Isn't that awesome? Literally, guys, have you ever gone to a wedding and when the bride's walking down the aisle, you hold up a 4 and say, "I've seen better"? Like, no. Of course not. You know, the bride looks terrific. You know why? Because the groom knows everything about her. And he can't wait to spin forever. That's how Jesus feels about you. He can't wait to spin forever. I love that we're talking about being rich in love because there's a Father in heaven that's just nuts about you. Have you ever seen somebody that's taking a picture of somebody else and they're smiling? That's how God feels about you. He can't wait to spend forever with you. And what he does is he drops people into our life to remind us of how good God is and how good a relationship, how rich it can be to fall in love with each other, with somebody that you decide to marry. I fell in love with Sweet Maria Goff. Literally, she walked in the room. She was in there for 4 minutes. I'm like, "Yes, you will be mine." Right? Guys are just like that. Well, it took a little while, but she finally said yes. So we got married. And you know what? We could not be more different. Literally. I get around people. I'm like, people! She thinks having me in the room's a lot of people. I'm like Tigger and she's the wise owl. But one of the things, when we got married, they said that 2 will become 1. She thought we were going to become her. I'm like, oh, heck no. But I'm not trying to be like her, and she's not trying to be like me. We're trying to be like Jesus. And so wherever you are, you want to be rich in some of the relationships, quit trying to be like each other. If it's more important for us to be like each other, we'll never be like Jesus. Ephesians 4, live a life worthy of the calling you've received. Go be you. Want to do something awesome in the world? And here's the deal. This idea, oneness doesn't mean sameness. Go be one. That's John 17. You read this book in the Bible. It's like having a glass up against the wall. And you get to hear Jesus talk to his dad. And he said, "Father," it's like, if people want to understand what it's like between me and you, I want them to just see the way it's like between you and you. And if we get that right in our relationships and we quit trying to be like each other, we could return. You want to find a rich faith? Return to a childlike faith. Not childish. Guys, we've got that nailed. But childlike. Literally, Sweet Maria and I, we just got a puppy. And the crazy thing, we're trying to housebreak this puppy. It's not working. The only thing it's missed so far is the lawn. But this dog is teaching us. It's reminding me about that earlier version. Tell me if I made a little clip. See if this reminds you of the earliest version of your faith. Here, can you look at that thing? Yes. Just going for it, you guys. Return to that. Find your child. Like two of Jesus's friends are arguing about who gets the big chair next to him. And he says, I'll tell you, unless you change and become like a child, you'll never enter the kingdom of God. I thought you just prayed a prayer. Evidently, there's more. It's a childlike faith. Oh, go find that, you guys. Don't let anything distract you. Don't let anybody trespass into this room. Like, just get in the room and say, we don't lead people to Jesus. Jesus leads people to Jesus. But we got to be in the room for it to happen. Find that childlike faith and you'll find a rich faith. You'll find a rich joy. I traveled to Uganda a lot. I just got back actually last week, and I never take the malaria meds. I mean, like, who needs them, right? Last time I was there, I got malaria. Almost killed me. I was in the ICU for a week and a half. You guys, we just got the bills, $140,000. I don't think it's covered. And I could have avoided the whole thing for a nickel pill and a half a glass of water. And some of the stuff that's distracting you, some of the stuff that's going on in your life, you could avoid that simply. Make your faith simple, but don't you dare make it easy, because faith isn't easy. From everything I'm reading, it'll kill you. But make your faith simple. Jesus is the smartest theologian ever to walk the earth. And he points to two sheep. And he says it's like when one of those gets away. Find just the simplest version. The place I go to find like kind of that renewal and all this. We have a place, Sweet Marie and I have been working on it. It took us 22 years to build it. It's really remote. It's at the end of this inlet in Canada. Our nearest neighbor is 10,000 square miles away. Isn't that crazy? We make our electricity off a glacier on the property. We raise our own vegetables. We catch salmon in the river. It's terrific. We're off the grid. And one of the ways to be rich in your faith, be rich in your relationships, is to find a time of rest. Some of you are going Mach 5, your hair's on fire. What we need to do is find rest. And there's something beautiful that happens. Just like the smallest little critter in all of Africa attacked me, a mosquito. Jesus talked about how small things become big things. Remember, it's in Mark 4. He talked about a mustard seed. He said it's the smallest of seeds. I'm a lawyer, I had to check. It's not. The Peruvian orchid is the smallest, 4/1,000,000th of an ounce. But here's the deal. The story wasn't about the seed. It was about what it turned into. And it became a tree that gave people rest. People, you want to go find a rich faith again? You want to go find, when you lose your car keys, what do? You say, where did I see them last? Where did you find your joy last? Oh, go return to that. There's this verse in the Song of Songs. Not that verse. It's awesome. But there's another verse. And it says this, my beloved is mine and I am his. I mean, that's simple. Is there more to your faith than that? Oh, heck yeah. Don't worry about it. Just start. If you're far away, if you've been far away from Jesus for a long time, just return to him. Find, well, where did you see your faith last? If you're really never been tighter, that's terrific. Spread that. Give that away to people. But know what love is. We've got 3 kids, Richard, Lindsay, and Adam. Well, I wanted Lindsay to be a nun, but she decided she was going to date guys. And in high school, I said, when a guy asks you out on a date or asks you to the prom, I want you to ask him, what's your definition of love? And because he's a guy, he won't know. So he said, go home and figure out what love is and come back when you know what it is. And if he comes back and tells you it's like butterflies, you can get that from bad pizza. Like, love is sacrifice and commitment. It's that you want to go find a rich faith again, go figure out what love is and go do a bunch of that. And you don't need a bunch. Just be available. I wrote this book, Love Does. Actually, this publisher said, will you write a book? I said, I don't know. Will you build a school? I'll trade you. 1 school for 1 book. And they said, okay, well, how big's the school? And I said, all right, there's about 1,000 child soldiers in northern Uganda and 40 teachers. And they said, big school. I said, big book. And on the last page of the book, there was a little bit of room. And I was thinking about how Jesus was available to everybody, right? Somebody pulled on his shirt. He's like, who was that? It's a little guy in a sycamore tree. He's like, lunch on you. He had time for everybody. But I was getting less available. So I said, could I put my cell phone on the last page of the book? They looked at me like I was on drugs. I'm like, well, now I have to. Not go on drugs, but put my cell phone number on the last page of the book. You guys, there's 1.5 million people that have my cell phone number, and I don't send anybody to voicemail. It's awesome. I get 100 calls a day. I can't get a thing done. It's terrific. Hey, because when somebody calls me and I say hello, I've just answered every single question they have about you and about me. People just want to know if it's really true. And you guys, all you have to do is just say hello. Do that. Literally go for 1 week. Don't send anybody to voicemail. And if this is gonna wreck your life, you don't have to change your ringtone to a rooster crowing, and on the 3rd ring, you've denied Christ. Didn't like that. But here's the deal. People don't follow vision, they follow availability. You wanna be rich in love? Be rich in time. Give it away like you're made of this stuff. Following Jesus means a life of constant interruptions. Oh, go get interrupted all the time. And you know what? People look right through you and they'll see God. It's crazy how that works. Well, we've been going around building schools with all this money from this book, which cracks me up because my worst subject in school was school. But it turns out I'm pretty good at starting them. So we've got them in Iraq and Somalia and Uganda, all over the place. And I got a call from a sultan. I've never gotten a call from a sultan before. And he asked me if I'd come to his country and build a school. I'm like, build your own school. So, but he invited me to his palace. Now, you got to understand, I start off every single morning with a latte. You know, they make little like leaves in the foam. I'm easily impressed. And while he invites me to the palace, I'm like, yes. I get there, you guys, check this out. He put his palace on the latte. I'm like, buddy, you are so insecure. And then he took a tablespoon of 14 karat gold and he put it across the top. People, we are paying way too much for gas. And he said, if you drink the gold, it'll make you look young again. I'm like, liar! But do you want to be rich in your faith? Be generous in your time and give away your very best to people. Don't give the leftovers. Give them your best. And then, because you know what love is, it's commitment and it's sacrifice. I'm the consul general for the Republic of Uganda. Isn't that awesome? I'm not the US guy to Uganda. I'm the Ugandan guy to the US. I mean, go figure that one out. I walk into embassies like, where's the Ugandan guy? I'm like, I'm the Ugandan guy. And if you come to my house in San Diego, the flag of Uganda flies over my house. Isn't that awesome? It looks like Germany got together with a peacock, but that's it. And my house looks like every other house on the block, but it's not. Because where the consul general lives and the flag of Uganda flies, it's Uganda. Isn't that crazy? I'm the diplomatic mission of a foreign government to the United States. You know the coolest thing about being like the consul general? I have diplomatic immunity. I could kill you, literally, I could. And we fly under the banner of Christ. And it changes everything. Or it changes nothing. It can't just change a couple things, but it can change a couple things at a time. So family of God, beloved, what's it gonna be for you? What's one thing you're gonna move? Well, I'm kind of a quirky guy. Are you guys picking up on that? Yeah, I have pants like all of you guys do. And if I wanna hang on to something, I put it in my right pocket. But I've got no left pockets. Literally, if I put something in my left pocket, literally, it's like a bad magic trick. It'll end up in my shoe. And you know why? Because I want to be reminded in the simplest way that your faith and mine is the sum of everything we're hanging on to and everything we're willing to let go of. It's that simple. What are you hanging on to? What's distracting you? Who hurt your feelings? Who broke your heart? What business deal went south? And you're walking around with that stuff. And you're giving that the room. And Jesus says, I want the room. Move it from here to here. It's only 18 inches. Okay, 20. But literally, Paul wrapped it up beautifully in Galatians 5. He said this, that the only thing that counts is your faith expressed in love. And here's the deal. Jesus doesn't need your help. I asked him before I came out here. He wants your heart. You want to be rich in your faith? You want to be rich in relationships? Like, just this, start with the relationships. Literally, just start with them. Do you know on your last day here on earth, you're going to have room around your bed for 8 people, 9 if they're thin. And so what I've done is I've sent my 8 a text message. I said, you're one of the 8. And they write back like, what's that mean? I'm like, don't worry about it. But figure out who your 8 people are. And if you don't have 8, go find 6 people that you can really trust and you can talk about your faith and where you're really at. You know, Jesus never had problems with people who had questions. He had problems with people who were faking. And if it matters more what your faith looks like than what it is, man, it's time to take a walk around the block. Man, just time to renew your faith, that you go puppy on it, to go just find your joy again. Move some of this stuff from here to here. And the way we get there, you really want to find a rich faith, you just got to know Scripture. It's Mark 12. Mark 12 says this, the mistake that you made is that you don't know the Scriptures, and so you don't know the power of God. I mean, this idea of like reading this stuff and actually knowing what it says. So when somebody's in like this really difficult place, you don't give them advice that rhymes. And if you get advice that rhymes, run. Literally, just like no Scripture. I haven't had a quiet time in 20 years. Mine are super loud. I'm like ADD, I make coffee nervous. So what I do is I take everything that I've learned the day before. I bet I send myself 60 emails a day. I'm like, him again, block. And I'll say, I know it sounds right, but is it actually true? And there's something beautiful that happens when we do that, like love does. The whole book, it doesn't have any Bible verses in it, right? You want a Bible verse? Read the Bible, it's full of them. Well, what I just tried to do is say things that are true. What if that's true of us? You want to be rich in your faith? Just say true stuff, but simple stuff. Say what's the easiest way? And the easiest way I can wrap up what Jesus had to say to us as a community that we needed to do is this: love everybody always. Say that with me. Love everybody always. Even you online, shout it at the TV. Love everybody always. And start with the people who creep you out. Right? No pointing. But because it's easy to love Clay, Andy. I mean, he's low-hanging fruit. Who wouldn't love him? But find the people that creep you out. You want a report card on your faith? See how you're loving the people that you disagree with the most. And that's where, I've spent my whole life avoiding the people Jesus spent his whole life engaging. You know why? I didn't want to get any on me. And the simple message of the gospel is this: get it on you. Get it all over you. And you know what? You'll look just like Christ. You guys, there's something beautiful. My problem, and maybe it's yours, is that I'm comfortable. And comfortable people don't need Jesus. Desperate people need Jesus. We started this school in Somalia. They won't teach little girls how to read or write. You know why? They're girls. And it was said by someone else so well that the only thing that scares a terrorist is a girl with a book. And so we're loading these girls up with books. And 2 trips ago when I was in Somalia, I'm walking, like El Shabaab is everywhere. And there's like rounding up, there's a total of nobody that looks like me there. And I'm walking down the road and this guy comes up to me with a machine gun. I'm like, oh my gosh. And all I had with me was my cell phone. So I asked him, like, do you know what a selfie is? And he didn't shoot me in the face. You guys, don't worry about what you're gonna do when you get there. just get there. You want a rich faith? Go do stuff. Like there's something beautiful, and not because Jesus needs your help, but the more things that we do, we understand more about ourselves. We understand more about how God's wired us, what we're good at, what we stink at. We'll understand more of his character. We'll know what he's about. And literally, he laid it out. Matthew 25. When I get to heaven, I want to ask Jesus about Yosemite. Like, how did you decide where the waterfalls go? And what's the deal with Half Dome? Like, where's the other half? But he said in Matthew 25, all he wants to talk about is this. I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, I was creepy and you invited me in. I was sick and you comforted me. I was naked and you clothed me. I was in jail and you came. People, that's it. Hungry people, thirsty people, sick people, strange people, naked people, and people in jail. Quit waiting for a plan. That's the plan. Literally, we have this place in San Diego, it's called In-N-Out Burger. Have you ever been to that thing? Change your life. Well, I'll go buy 50 burgers and I'll just drive around San Diego in my car and I'll ask somebody, like, are you hungry? They'll say, I am. I'm like, have a burger. And I don't write like Jesus loves you. If you've had a double-double, you know he loves you. I have little bottles of water. And I'll say, are you thirsty? They'll go like, I am. I'm like, thirsty people. We've got a nude beach in La Jolla. I just stand at the top of the cliff and throw socks over. Like naked people. Instead of just agreeing with all of it, you want a rich faith, go do some of it. Just pick some stuff out of here. Go do that. And is it gonna be hard? Oh, heck yeah. And that's where we grow. We don't grow where we're informed. We grow where we're accepted. And you're a word from you, a word of acceptance. I see who you're turning into. Will change everything for somebody. It's beautiful what happens. Ever since my kids were the size of trout, I've had this mirror. And I get the mirror out there like, Dad, not the mirror. And like, get counseling later. And I'll hold it up to my son, Richard. He's 6'9". I say, Richard, you're a man of valor. I've seen you in tight spots, man. I know you love God. I'll hold it up to Lindsay. I'll say, Lindsay, you're a woman of virtue. I mean, I've seen the way that you're committed to your friends and your family. My son, Adam, he's just this daredevil. I'm like, Adam, you'll be dead by 30. Like, but you know what? When my kids went away to college, they left behind all the teddy bears. I got them at the circus. You know what they brought? Their mirrors. And I wasn't there, but I bet you anything on the fourth day of school, the roommate said, what's up with the mirror? And can't you picture him getting it down and say, you look right here. You guys, go tell people who they're turning into. Get a mirror, leave now. Just get one of these things. And then, you know what? We'll become who the people that we're closest to say we are. Like Jesus, he said to Peter, he said, you're a rock. He didn't say you're such a wimp. What do you mean, the rooster? He said, you're a rock. And he became one. God said to Mary, you're a mother, and she became one. He said to Noah, you're a sailor, and he became one. He said to Jonah, you're fish food. And you know what happened to him. Like, you guys, speak these words into people's lives, just in beautiful, winsome ways, and we'll turn into that. Ladies, try this experiment. Walk into a room full of guys and just tell them, I feel really safe around you. Every guy in the room will be like, yeah. It's like a card trick. And men, when a woman walks in the room, just rise. Don't be to be polite. Just, we'll never honor Christ if we forget how to honor each other. Just rise to your feet. One of the things that Jesus always said to blind people, it seemed like, are these 4 words. What do you want? And I can imagine the guy standing at the gate like, I'm blind, I'm blind, I'm blind, I'm blind. And Jesus says, what do you want? I was like, I'm blind, I'm blind, I'm blind. I don't think Jesus was confused about it. I think he wanted to know, do you know what you want? So bride of Christ, let me ask you. We're talking about being rich in faith and in love and in relationships. What do you want? And if you want a Porsche, just get it out there. I want a Porsche. You're not getting one, but just get it out there. But what if you start wanting some of the things that Jesus talked about? You want to be rich in your faith. You want to be rich in love? Start doing the things that this author of love talked about. And it starts and ends with people. Like literally the way that we meet them. And if following Jesus doesn't lead you and me to hurting, lonely, isolated, sometimes creepy people, then we're not following Jesus. We're just being comfortable. There's a young man, his name is Ivan. Ivan came to our school when he was 12 years old. Do you know what Ivan wanted? He wanted to be an artist, but he didn't have a paintbrush. He didn't have a canvas. All he had was a spear and a bed sheet. And so what he did is he mixed the paint in his hand. And you know what Ivan made with a spear and a bed sheet? He made this. Is that crazy? You guys, there's something beautiful that happens when we start doing with what we've got to get what we want. It's easy to say, well, as soon as I have this, or as soon as I have that, or as soon as then, but just take what you've got right now and figure out what you want and then go do that. Thanks a million. You guys, there's something beautiful about that. Instead of deferring it and thinking God needs to provide more and more stuff, look at all the stuff he's provided. And every time I pray a prayer, God sends a person. Be that person that he sends to somebody who's hurting and lonely, isolated. One word from you will change everything for them. And then do what it takes to get what you want. We just got back from Somalia. There's a people group in the western desert in Somalia that El Shabaab has surrounded in a 15-mile circle. And they're not letting any trucks in with food, and they're literally just trying to starve these people to death. So you know what we did? We rented a cargo plane. We loaded it with 55,000 people worth of food with the World Food Program and flew it right over their heads and landed on the gravel. What could possibly go wrong? Well, there's this young guy that wanted to go with us. His name is Tyler. And he said, can I go? I'm like, oh, heck no. Because you got to understand, Tyler had dreadlocks down to his waist. And I'm like, buddy, if you get off of the plane looking like that, they're going to shoot you in the face. And then they're going to shoot me in the face because I'm standing with you. And so do you know what Tyler did? He cut his dreads off. He looks like he works at IBM now. It's crazy. So the question is, figure out what you want and then say, what do I already have? And then am I willing to do what it takes to get what I want? And just go do lots of that. Keep it simple. It ain't easy, but it is simple. One of the things I wanted sometime in my life, I just wanted one person to not die because I was here. I wouldn't even care. I'd actually prefer if they didn't know it was me. But I just wanted, because I was alive, one person somewhere wouldn't die. I moved to San Diego for college, and evidently I was enrolled, but I mostly just surfed. And there's this hurricane that blew into town, and there's all these big waves, and so I paddled out, right? No brains, no headache. So I actually got one wave before I got caught inside. And this place is called Sunset Cliffs. The cliffs are 70 feet tall. They go 3 miles in each direction. And as I was trying to paddle out through these waves, another wave would come and push me back, and I'd paddle out into another wave would come. For 2 hours, I'm trying to get outside, and they're pushing me closer and closer to the cliff until finally one of these waves just crashes me into the cliff. The surfboard breaks into a bunch of people. You guys, I was done. I made my peace with God. I'm like, now I'm gonna drown. And fortunately, there was a guy walking along on the top of the cliff, and he saw what was happening to me. And he made his way down the 70-foot cliff, and he got in the water with me. That's where I got saved. Not like Christian saved, saved. And I go back to that same place every Christmas Day to give thanks to God for a guy that didn't just stand at the top of the cliff and say, John 3:16, it'll rock your life. He got in the water with me. You want to live a rich life? You want to be rich in relationships? You want to be rich in love? Get in the water with people. People who are hurting, people who are in the middle of the mess, just jump in. And we were down at Sunset Cliffs. It was last year. And there was this epic sunset, and I was there with my boys, and we were walking back to jump on our motorcycles, and someone calls out, "Call 911." And evidently, there'd been a young man that was on the edge of the cliff, and he was screwing around with his iPhone, and he lost his balance. He fell off the cliff. And because I'd seen the way a guy got down that cliff 30 years before to get to me, I knew how to get down the cliff. And we got down there, and for the next hour, we're giving this guy CPR and trying to breathe for him. And he was alive when we got there, you guys. When these fire trucks came and they rappelled down the cliffs, he was dead. And I felt so guilty. But here's the deal. I want to fail trying. Don't fail watching. And there's something beautiful that happens when we want to be rich in love. It means that we try stuff, and it doesn't make you a winner if it works. It doesn't make you a loser. If it doesn't, it makes you a participant in God's big plan. That we would interact, we would jump in there, and the news covered this thing all over the place on NBC and CNN about a young man who made a big mistake. And I was in Indianapolis later, and his parents called me up and asked if we could meet. And I said that, absolutely, but all those feelings of like guilt and shame and like, could I have done something different, flooded back in. I was thinking, what is it that I could give them that would give them any kind of comfort? And then I remembered I'd taken a picture of the sunset. And instead of talking about the mistake that he made, we talked about the beauty that he saw. And I think some of you are terrific at telling people that in their life, the beauty that you see. You don't tell them how far they have to go. You tell them how far they've been. And what we need to work on, some of us, is this. You need to talk to yourself. You need to let Jesus whisper to you again about who you are in his big plan. Some of you guys are ashamed of stuff. You got all this stuff that you don't want anybody to know, and you're like, you shouldn't have looked at this thing or done this thing, and you're calling yourself all these names under your breath. And on your very worst day, with your biggest screw up, do you know what Jesus calls you? He calls you beloved. And if you're not hearing the word beloved spoken over your shoulder right now, it ain't Jesus talking. Beloved, you want to be rich in faith? Know who it is and how God sees you. There's a friend of mine who went blind when he was 8 years old. And he's just this amazing guy that went on to learn that he was actually pretty fast on his feet. He could actually run like the wind. And so when he got to college, he went out for the track team. He's totally blind. Seems like a bad idea. He had to pick an event. You know what he picked? The long jump. Now that seems like a really bad idea. But you know what this guy has? Lex has a friend. And his friend stands at the edge of this sand pit and calls his name. Well, Lex was evidently pretty good at this because he went out for the United States Olympic team and he made it. Literally, he went to Rio representing us, and he's blind. Well, in the run-up to the Olympic Games, they had the World Championships, and Lex got to the end of this 110-foot strip, and his friend went to the edge of the sand pit and started calling his name, Lex, 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 Lex. And Lex is running towards this voice he can trust. When Lex jumps, he jumps crooked, and he actually missed the sand pit, and he crashed and burned on the concrete. Man, that's happened to some of you. You jumped big, you hit hard, and you said, I'm out. Maybe it happened to a friend of yours. But you know what? Lex has got a friend of his, and his friend's got him a new jersey, walked him down to the end of that runway again, went to the sand pit and started calling his name. Lex, 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 straight, 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 straight. Lex uncorks the biggest jump of his life, and he wins the whole thing. You guys, I want people to jump further towards their joy, jump further in their faith, because yours is a voice they can trust. Because a lot of people are stuck, and they don't need to be. Just a word from you. You don't have to tell them what to do. Tell them who they are. Just say, I see who you're becoming. There's a guy that started a city down in southern part of Texas. You know what I love about him? He let his kids name all the streets. Do you know what they named every single street? They named him Way. There's literally a street called This Way, and there's a street called That Way. There's a street called Anyway. You couldn't make this stuff up. The church is on His way. And the airport's on Runway. Oh, people of God, don't be stuck right there. Hey, I gotta land the plane. I told you about this lodge that we have in Canada. We've been working on this thing for 22 years, and it's been my life's work. We bring people from different countries there, the people that are shaping culture, and we were finally done. And I hired 8 guys to go put some stain on this lodge. They were supposed to be there for like 2 months doing it there. They were there for 2 days. And 2 oily rags got put together. They spontaneously combusted, and it burned it to the ground. You guys, some of that has happened to you. You had a dream, a beautiful ambition. It was a relationship, it was a career, and it just burned down. And I stood at the edge of this thing with sweet Maria Goff. Every memory of ours was gone. And there was a really well-intentioned woman that was still working on her people skills a little bit, I think. And she came up and she said, Bob, the reason God burned down your lodge is He wanted to show you His power. I wanted to scissor kick her in the neck. I'm like, what? What? I've seen a ladybug and been wowed. You didn't need to burn down my home. But I think God allows these things to happen in your life and mine to remind us of His presence. You want to be rich in faith? Be reminded of Jesus. Like there's something about that. The way in and out of this lodge is on a seaplane, and Maria won't fly with me. I mean, would you, now that we've hung out? I'm like that dogging up. I'm like, squirrel. But every year on our anniversary, we'll take one flight together. And we took this one flight and we got back to the dock and we got out of the plane and she left a note. It said, meet me at the cabin. I'm like, yes. So I'm running to the cabin. I'm like, this is gonna be awesome. And you know what she'd done, you guys? She'd saved her wedding dress for 32 years. And she still fit it and she got this jumbo tuxedo and we duct taped me in. And we renewed our vows. And I'm emotionally incontinent. I mean, I cry at everything, which is really a problem if you're a trial lawyer. And all I could get out was this: beloved, you are mine, and I am yours. Boy, if you're near to Jesus this morning, if you're far away, just let that be your prayer, that you're mine, I'm yours. I want to be rich in my relationship with you. I want to get real with this. There's one thing that we have in Canada that you don't have a lot of here, and they're sea otters. There's thousands of these things. They're everywhere. And the thing about sea otters that you might not know is that they all hold hands. We should be playing Sarah McLachlan music. So you know why? They don't want anyone to drift away. And you guys, I think that's God's big plan for us. You want to be rich in your faith? You want to be rich in this community of faith? Just don't let anybody drift away. You don't have to hold everybody accountable. Jesus didn't hold anybody accountable. He held people close. And if we hold people closely that way, you'll lift this whole city up. You'll lift this whole country up. There's something beautiful that happens when we can just get real with that. So in closing, could we do this? Will you grab a shoulder or a hand or whatever's not creepy? Even online, you can do that. Literally, do that. You'll know right away. Here, I want in on this. Here, I'm gonna stand up right here. Andy's never gonna have me back. Can we pray together? Jesus, you've been eavesdropping on our whole lives. You know everything about us. You know that we're your beloved. Will you give us the guts and the grit to just be able to see you again, find our faith again, find our love, be rich in relationships, and that we would do that by realizing that you are ours and we are yours, and that's it. In your strong name, amen.